So, let's get into it. First question looks at an interpretation question, pretty straightforward. Pie chart shows information about money spent during the month. One of the key things with these sorts of questions is really reading the question carefully. What did she spend the most money on? So this is all about looking at the pie chart and looking at the angles. Okay, so what you're trying to decide is which angle is the biggest bit, which slice of the pie is largest. Now clearly it looks like rent and bills, so my answer to the first question is rent and bills. What fraction was on transport? Now the fraction is 90 out of 360. That is effectively what I've got. The reason I say out of 360 is because we know in a full circle it's 360, and we know because of this symbol here that means 90 degrees, this here. Okay, so 90 out of 360, which you should all know simplifies, because if I divide it, eventually that simplifies to a quarter. So what fraction? Well, Fiona spent a quarter of her money on transport. Finally, it says Fiona spent £320 on transport. How much did she spend in total? So for this question, what you need to think about is, if I know that that this bit here represents 320, and that's a quarter of my total, how can I work out the total? Well, if you know it's a quarter of the total, what do I need to do to it to work out the entire total? So what I'm basically saying is 320 is a quarter of something. So how do I go backwards from there? Well, the opposite of a quarter is 4 times. So if I times it by 4 to go backwards, okay, I times by 4 both sides, that will give me the entire total. So literally 320 multiplied by 4, and that will give us £1,280. So that is the answer to that question. Okay. I'm going to, we'll look at question 2 as well. This is a good question to look at before we start drawing the pie charts themselves. So for question 2, what it says is the pie chart shows information about the favorite pizza toppings, of a group of students. Okay, so use the pie chart to complete the table. Now, what you need to be aware of is, because they've given you peppers and they've told you that it's 90 degrees, with that one bit of information you can work out everything else. Okay, so the way you do that is you want to work out how much each degree represents how many people. Okay, so that's really our starting point. So each degree represents how many people. Now, if 18 people are represented by 90 degrees, then what I'll do is I'll do 90 divided by 18, which tells me that each person is represented by 5 degrees. Okay, so 5 degrees is one person, is basically what I'm saying to you. So what I'll do is I'll just write that down. I've just done 90 degrees divided by number of people, and that tells me that one person is 5 degrees. Okay, so one person equals 5 degrees. Now, moving in from there, we are going to say, well, if I've got 40 degrees, how many 5s fit into 40? The answer is 8, so that's 8 people. I've already got the answer to this one, so how many 5s fit into 90? That was 18. This one here, well, that's 180 degrees. We should know that because it's on a straight line. So how many 5s fit into 180? And that's 36, so 36 people. And finally, pineapple. Well, if you know that it adds up to 360 altogether, and I've already got 40, I've already got 90, and I've already got 180, then I know that what's left is going to be, I can use a calculator for this, 50 degrees. So a pineapple is a 50 degree angle. Now, how many 5s fit into 50? 10. So that's 10 people. And I've now worked out everything that I need for my table. So mushroom was 180 degrees, pineapple 50 degrees, ham 40 degrees given in the question, and then effectively you're dividing each of them by 5 to work out how many people that represents. So 36, 10, 108 people. So that's that. Question 3 says the table gives information about the languages studied by Year 11 students at School A. Draw an accurate pie chart for this information. Okay, so they've given me information about which language these students study, out of French, German or Spanish. Draw an accurate pie chart. You're going to need a protractor for this. You're also going to need to work out the angle. So what I might do is I'll just add a little row on here, which is angle. So I'll just sort of informally add that on there. There it is. And I'll also add a little row on the end here. Apologies for the poor presentation, but this is total. So the total number of people in Year 11, 360. You'll notice there's a relationship between those two numbers. They multiply quite nicely to make the other. So 120 times by 3 gives me 360. So basically what I'm saying to you is multiply that by 3, multiply that by 3, and multiply that by 3, and you will end up with the angle that you need. And it should all add up to 360. So 58 times by 3 is 174. 33 times by 3 is 99. And 29 times by 3 is 87. Now the other way you could do this, as I explained to my class, is you could have done so the amount out of the total and then times it by 360. So for French it would be that. For German it would be 33, out of 360 times by 33 out of 120 times by 360, and for Spanish it would be 29 out of 120 times 360. So what you're basically working out is what fraction of the total, and then times it by 360, because we know there's 360 in each in every circle, and that will give us the same answers: 174, 99, and 87, or it should certainly give us the same answers. Anyway, we've got our 3 angles. Let's just double check that they work and they add up to 360. That's a good thing to check that you've done it right. So 174 plus 99 plus 87 gives me 360. So I'm pretty confident that those angles are correct. Now it's just a question of drawing those angles correctly. So here we go. Usually on a pie chart drawing question they give you a line to start with. So what you need to do is you need to put the center of your protractor, that's this little cross in the middle, on the middle of the circle, so right there. And you also need to line up the 0 with the straight line that they've drawn for you. I'm going to zoom in a touch here because it's probably a bit simpler, a bit easier to see if you can see. And the first angle is for French, which is 174. So what you're going to do is you need to look at your numbers and you're counting round or going round to 174. So 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way around to 170. 174 is just here, okay? So 174 will be just there. And I'm just going to put a little mark here with my pencil. There, 174. Alright? Now you take a ruler and you will connect the center to that line out there, and that should give you an angle of 174 right there. So this angle here should be 174 degrees, and that is French. And next. And that's the only thing. I mean, the only thing I would advise you to remember, I'd say, really is to draw the or write each slice of the pie, what it represents. Sometimes they'll ask you to draw a key, or there'll be a key given to you already. Other times, as in this case down here, this pie chart, they've already drawn it for you, so they told you what's on there. Okay. While on the point, we'll quickly do part B as well of question 3. Just going to zoom back out again. So part B says, Maggie says the pie charts show more Year 11 students at school B, that's this school, study French. Is she right? Now, the key part here is this, more Year 11 students. Because I know a lot of you are going to look at this and say, yeah, it's obvious, look, the angle's much bigger. It's clearly, this one is 174, and this one is more than that because it goes beyond the straight line. It goes more than 180. and this is obviously less than 180. So some of you straight away are going to say, yeah, it's definitely true. But I can't say for sure whether Maggie is right. And if we were in a classroom now, I'd ask you to raise your hands and tell me why. Why can't we tell for sure? Well, the reason is because I don't know how many kids are at school B. What if at school B there was only 20 students, whereas at school school A we've got 120 students, and at school B there's only 20. So even though it's a bigger angle, it might represent a smaller population. Okay, and that is the crucial part. Maggie says the pie charts show more Year 11 students at school B study French. Is Maggie right? No, she is not right. The pie charts don't show that. Okay, what the pie chart actually shows is the pie charts show that a greater proportion of school B study French. What that means is it's a bigger proportion, a bigger part of the pie, but it might not be more people, more actual students. Because, as I say, what if this only represents 20 kids? If that represents 20 kids, and this is a little bit more than half, that might only be 12 kids. So even though the angle's quite big, 12 kids is not bigger than whatever we had before, 58 students study French here. So even though, yes, it's a bigger piece of the pie, it may not be more of the population. And that's the answer. Hopefully you found this helpful. Please do try the rest of the questions yourself.